Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Манай нэвтрүүлгүүд олон хэлээр гардаг зочлог хаяг suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Born amidst a devastating plague pandemic, young Saint Roch wanted to become a doctor and help those from whom everyone else fled. He told Lord Jesus Christ that he would treat them, but that they would be healed by God's grace. Blessed Saint Roch, Pilgrim of God, Protector of the Sick, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Hola, that's hello in Catalan. I'm Isabel. The vibrant people of Catalonia cherish your noble presence and invite you to pray for humanity to remember their true celestial nature. Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part series entitled Blessed Saint Roch, Pilgrim of God, Protector of the Sick. August 16th is Blessed Saint Roch's feast day. His passing from earth is commemorated on this day every year. Mainly invoked for protection against the plague and other contagious diseases, Saint Roch is also a patron saint of dogs and dog trainers, wrongly accused people, bachelors, surgeons, pilgrims, skin diseases, knee problems, the Faculty of Pharmacy in Montpellier, and more. In this 2-part series, we look at the inspiring life story and legends surrounding Saint Roch to better understand why such powers were attributed to him. Our story begins in 14th century France with a noble and wealthy couple, Libert and Jean Roch de la Croix, who were known to be extremely generous, pious, and hospitable. The couple prayed and prayed to the Blessed Virgin Mary to give them a child. Eventually, God rewarded their patience and granted them their wish. Around 1350, Libert gave birth to a beautiful baby boy who bore a red mark in the form of a cross on his chest. This special mark was an indication of the devotion and faith that would guide their child's entire life. The new parents fervently thanked the Lord for his loving benevolence, and the newborn was baptized with the name Roch. Young Saint Roch was gentle in nature, good-humored, and radiated a constant zest for life that made him loved by all. Growing up, he was witness to the tragic effects of the Black Death. The plague pandemic peaked in Europe right around the time of his birth, from 1348 to 1350, claiming the lives of around 50% of the population. Everywhere he went in the city, young Saint Roch met orphans whose parents had succumbed to the plague. Saint Roch would bring them home so that his parents could feed them and care for them. Once symptoms appeared, people reacted with fear and panic. Deeply saddened by the situation, young Saint Roch turned to Lord Jesus Christ and asked him for the strength to resolve the devastating situation. He wanted to become a doctor and help those from whom everyone else fled. He told Lord Jesus Christ that he would treat them, but that they would be healed by God's grace. Thus, Saint Roch studied medicine with the illustrious surgeons and apothecaries of Montpellier, a city which has had its own medical schools since 1137, although they were only authenticated in 1220. When he was just 17 years old, Saint Roch's own parents passed away. On his deathbed, his father asked Saint Roch to become a servant of Christ, to be good to the underprivileged by multiplying the alms, and to care for the unwell who are all brethren of Lord Jesus Christ. Saint Roch vowed to his father that he would follow the path of God. Both his altruistic education and his heartfelt promise would guide him for the rest of his life. Saint Roch inherited a considerable amount of possessions and land, but having already heard his spiritual calling, he was led by the biblical phrase, "Go, sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." Mark 10:21. Saint Roch decided to leave behind his earthly belongings. He distributed all his possessions among the unfortunate and the ill, and donated his land to his uncle. Free of worldly attachments, Saint Roch then left France on a pilgrimage to Rome, Italy, where he wanted to pray for his sins at the tombs of the apostles Saint Paul and Saint Peter. He passed through neighboring Maguelone, where the bishop blessed him. With his pilgrim's staff and bag, wide brim hat and cloak, Saint Roch was sent off on his journey. Let's take a moment to thank God for the many blessings in our lives. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Blessed Saint Roch, Pilgrim of God, Protector of the Sick, Part 1 of 2. On his pilgrimage to Rome, Saint Roch stopped in Italian cities such as Acquapendente and Cesena, which at the time were still ravaged by the Great Plague and being evacuated as their residents fled. Nevertheless, armed with his unshakable faith, Saint Roch still asked to enter the afflicted city in order to treat the sick. Using his medical knowledge, he did his best to help those suffering in hospitals and even in their homes. To heal a bubo, he would cut it open, then wipe the wounds clean, pray, and draw the sign of the Holy Cross on their foreheads, invoking God's healing power. He thus treated and consoled countless plague victims. Saint Roch is said to have cured many patients and helped entire cities eradicate the plague epidemic. In January 1368, Saint Roch finally reached Rome. As all pilgrims did in the Vatican City, he first visited St. Peter's Basilica. He then confessed his sins to the major penitentiary, which was generally a cardinal. Saint Roch was later called to attend the cardinal's bedside. The cardinal had fallen ill, and through God's healing power, Saint Roch was able to treat and calm him. When the major penitentiary asked what he could do to thank him for his kind assistance, Saint Roch answered that he would like an audience with the Pope. Thus, Saint Roch was granted the privilege of meeting with Pope Urban V, who had extremely grateful words for the courageous and devoted young man. After spending 3 years in Rome, Saint Roch knew he now had to get back home through the same plague-stricken route that he had traveled before. His exemplary faith in God and devotion to his brothers and sisters led him forward. Again, he helped the affected people along his path. A noteworthy stop was in the city of Assisi, birthplace of Saint Francis, some 200 years earlier. But perhaps the most challenging was the city of Piacenza, Italy, where the plague was rampant. Word of Saint Roch's ability to heal soon got around, and his services were requested everywhere in the city. Saint Roch relentlessly worked to keep the noble promise he had made to his father. One night, Saint Roch dreamt that he would himself become ill. The next morning, he woke up with a burning fever and terrible pain at the top of his thigh. To avoid burdening others, he decided to isolate himself in the Sarmato forest nearby. There, he asked God to let Here's servant return to him in peace. With reverent gratefulness in our hearts, we will continue the story of the beloved Saint Roch and see if God had other plans for him in part 2 of the series. For more information on Blessed Saint Roch, please visit saint-roch.com. Esteemed friends, thank you for joining us on today's program. Tune in again on Sunday, April 26th for part 2 of Blessed Saint Roch, Pilgrim of God, Protector of the Sick. May we all be guided by our inner wisdom and compassion.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/LS.